Good evening everyone and welcome back to Formula Racing League, welcome back to rFactor 2 and welcome back to round number 6 of the 2026 British Touring Car Challenge. You join us at our sole international round, well kind of anyway, because we've taken a trip north of the border. We're about 6 miles north of Dunfermline up in Scotland and we are here at Knockhill, a very tight and twisty little circuit that will catch you out if you're not careful, and one that I know in sim especially is always a right pain to go around. With Remco de Joux as our broadcast director this evening, you join myself, Ross McIntyre, and Lorenzo Etrovich Funcic alongside me in the commentary box. Lorenzo, Knockhill, it's a track that is not very long, it's very, very narrow, lots of undulation, lots of bumps, and it is quite difficult to master this place.
You're very right, Ross, and thank you for the introduction. But all of those things that you've listed just contribute to the track's amazing character. You can see some of the curbs here through the first part of the track, through Buffer's Dip and through Duffer's Dip, sorry, as Callum Wilson, who's the leader of the championship so far, spins round on the exit of Duffer's Dip and loses his rear wing, goes back to pit lane. But the sausage curbs at the start of the lap there through Duffer's Dip and through McIntyre as well, through the chicane as well. If you hit them at a certain angle, you're in for a world of pain and you're in for a ruined lap time. So the drivers have to navigate the tight track, the tricky curbs and each other as well, because, well, there's 13 of them here today, 15 actually, sorry. With a low number compared to the start of the season, but still plenty of people, and I'm sure if the drivers are not careful enough, there will be some impeding, as can be potentially seen there.
Yeah, it's very easily done, impeding. Of course, not on purpose here at Hill, but just, again, it's so narrow. The track isn't very long, so it's very easy to get caught behind somebody in a qualifying session if you're not too careful. Just a touch under 5 minutes to go now, just over halfway through our qualifying. It is the BMW of Wilson that leads the way ahead of Carlos Messina in the Cupra in P2, a 10th off pace. And then it is Taylor in P3, Goodway P4 there, then a bit further back. And then we're starting to see the real bigger gaps starting to emerge. Let's go on board with Dave Goodway for a lap. Coming down into Duffer's Dip, braking and turning at the edge of the pit exit. And then obviously the track drops away from him, it's completely blind. Now McIntyre's turn 3, again, you've got to really smack the curb, so you can take those red sausage curbs if you want to. Will pick you up onto two wheels massively, and then again, because it's a sim racing game and you don't need to worry about ripping all the internals out of the bottom of your car, you can also straight line the chicane a little bit as well. But if you clip it slightly wrong, you will have a monumental accident and be sent up into the stratosphere, and the landing won't be particularly nice either. And as I say that, we've already worked our way basically through the entire lap, just the final hairpin to go at Taylor's, and then you're on the main straight. You do get a bit of wheel spin from a front-wheel drive car here out of the hairpin just because it rises up, and then you've got the crest to deal with as well. The car will get light over those bumps. Here's a bit awkward because you see, as you've got a perfect example there, the pit lane exit is right out onto the racing line, so it could be interesting if anyone does need to stop during the races. But that's a short and sharp onboard lap there with Dave Goodway. Again, a 49 dead is the time currently on pole position for Wilson and that BMW. He is now 3.5 tenths clear of Messina, who looks to be joining him on the front row of the grid. So short and sharp laps as we do follow Carlo Messina around in the Cupra, and actually he's gone straight on at the chicane because there was an Infinity stuck in the way at the exit, but he'll have time to go again at least. But yes, Lorenzo, very short, very sharp lap, nowhere to really go. You're smashing the sausage curbs. There's probably going to be a big crash on the first lap because it's Knockhill and a sim racing spectacle, I guess is the word I'll use. So should be a lot of fun for us for 3 races this evening.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun for us as commentators and hopefully for the viewers as well. For the drivers as well, depending on where they qualify and who they really are. But I think this will be a really great round, and as we've said already, Callum Wilson fairly comfortably on pole position so far, 3 tenths up on Carlo Messina as well. It seems to be the usual suspects making up the top 4 here really. Callum Wilson has been running away with the championship in general since the beginning of the season really. I don't think there's been anyone who's beaten him in a race yet. I think he's won every single race there has been so far in this season. But drivers like Carlo Messina is currently in second, Jason A. Taylor in the other BMW here in third, Dave Goodway in that Vauxhall in fourth. They've all been there and thereabouts in those positions for, well, the entire season so far, and I think they'll stay there for the rest of the season as well, unless something massive changes. But I think we are missing a couple of drivers today here as well, such as Sergei Soroka, Antonis Paparinopoulos, who've been towards the top end of the grid as well throughout the season, but haven't been showing up as consistently and haven't showed up here today again.
It is a long old drive to Knockhill in real life, so you do get, when there's an actual race meeting here, some people from further down south in the UK maybe not as keen to turn up and spend stupid money on petrol and all of that to actually get there. Of course, in a sim race, you have the luxury of transporting yourself to the circuit, is basically selecting it in your menus and then clicking go, and that's about it. So maybe a few people busy, unfortunately. Is Milos Cherzan gets a bit of two-wheels action. Again, you can take the sausage curves for most of the track. You are aiming to take the sausage curves for most of the track. Through Duffer's Dip, though, it's only a light little kiss of that big red curve because it will roll you over. I've definitely done it before. Back when I used to do a bit of touring cars a few years ago, whacking around in my old trusty Subaru, and I've still got the clip somewhere. I think let's just say that I stopped rolling in the trees. I think it was quite a big one. Dave Goodway back on it once again. He'll have one more lap as we come to the line. 25 seconds left to go on the clock. Not a great lap, that one from Dave. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him, but this is do or die to see if he wants to unseat Wilson and Messina on the front row. He is still the second front-wheel drive car out there in P3, and doesn't look like he's under a lot of pressure from the likes of Taylor and then Smith behind. Smith, of course, the bigger concern for him potentially, given that is a front-wheel drive competition car thing. You know what I'm trying to go for. Smith, of course, does lead the championship in the front-wheel drive category as well, only by 7 points from Paparinopoulos, though, who's not here. And Goodway is only a further 2 points back. In fact, tied with Carlo Messina on 105 points in P3. So big weekend here for the front-wheel drive class and everybody in front-wheel drive machinery. Checkered flag is now out. Doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any changes made out there. So it looks like it will be Callum Wilson, who's continuing his ridiculous form and is set to start race number 1 on pole position.
Yeah, exactly. It's Callum Wilson yet again on pole position here at Knockhill. Carlo Messina in second, the first of the front-wheel drive cars. Dave Goodway in third, Jason A. Taylor in fourth, and Alan Smith in the Hyundai in fifth. Then you've got a streak of 3 Toyotas in Martin Morrell, Sam Cree, and Milos Cherzan, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Daniel Irvin in that third BMW, I think a newcomer from when I've last commentated here. And then Doug Wickens in 10th in that Ford. In P11, it is Piotr Vojdilo in the Infinity, one of 2 Infinities. Sergio Osorio in the second Cupra. And then we've got the 2 Vauxhalls of Tom Brunel and Johnny Sutton. And then the last man on the grid, 15th, Abdullah Arayevun in the second Infinity, with a livery very much resembling the cars that the police use.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah, some people have custom liveries, some people just using the ones that come with these British touring cars for our factored suit. So we'll have a brief break, a brief moment, and then we should be hopefully getting underway very shortly. Round number 6 of the 2026 British Touring Car Challenge here for you at Formula Racing League. 16 laps after 3 races are scheduled to be, and they will be a quick 16 lap. You're looking at around about a 40-odd second lap time around Knockhill at only a touch under 1.3 miles, or just a smidge over 2 kilometers in total length, and not really a lot of corners. It is a small old circuit. Basically, it was just a spare field this farmer had back in the 70s, and he did the age-old adage of, hey, why don't I put a racetrack on it? That could be quite entertaining. And aren't we so glad that he did do that, because it is a brilliant, much-beloved circuit, even if it's painful to get to, and you don't get a lot of things going around there because of how far away it is from everything. But still, should be a lot of fun going into this evening's race. Looking forward for the rest of the season. Of course, this is round 6. We are now at the halfway point. Of course, sticking to the British Touring Car Championship calendar proper, we basically race just the weeks after they're out. So there's a couple of weeks off. Then we'll be back for the Grand Prix layout of Donington Park. That was our opening round of the season back in April. We head there on the 25th of August. Then we go to one of my favourite tracks on the British Touring Car Championship calendar in Croft, heading up north, not quite Scotland, but northern England anyway, on the 8th of September. Then it is Silverstone National for the 9th round on the 29th, and then the 13th of October. It is the showdown at Brands Hatch, and of course, the Grand Prix loop being used as well. So you really get to see these touring cars flexing their muscle, flexing the, well, I say massive, they're not that big, but the inline fours that they've got in them anyway that do churn out a decent amount of power, to be fair to them. So, Callum Wilson on pole once again here, Lorenzo. He's looking like he wants to continue his streak of just running away with things in rear-wheel drive. But in front-wheel drive, it is quite interesting. In the form, Papranopoulos is not here. Alan Smith looks to be a little bit off the pace compared to Goodway and Messina, who are not far away from him at all. They're both 9 points apiece away from him. Is that 9? Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. Well done, mathematical brain. So we could be seeing some big swings here this evening in the front-wheel drive classes, especially given it's Knockhill. There's going to be crashes. There's going to be moments. There's going to be a pile-up at Duffer's Dip on the first lap. Somebody's going to roll it through the chicane at some point. So it could be a bit of a couple of races of survival this evening.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think where, as you said, Alan Smith being a bit slightly off pace compared to Messina and Goodway, there could be massive implications for the front-wheel drive championship here. And I do think we'll see a swap in positions by the end of Knockhill, but I'm not quite sure whether that will be for the lead. I do think Smith will just about be able to keep his spot on top for now, but I do think Messina currently being behind Goodway, I think Messina will be able to jump Goodway and be the bigger threat to Alan Smith. But we also have to remember Messina, some of the issues that have plagued him from the beginning of the year, such as his internet issues, hardware issues with the wheel, and even aside from that, one thing Messina struggles with in these cars is launches. He's very slow off the start, so I think the beginning of the race is going to be very crucial for him, especially since he's qualified second here and he's got Goodway and Smith right behind him. So if he wants to have a chance of jumping both of them and not just one of them, then he's going to need to be very, very attentive at the starts here with the lights.
Need to be indeed. 1 minute left to go in this warm-up session. Not seeing too many cars out on the circuit. One thing we do need to consider with Smith as well, he is the only Hyundai got with us this evening, so I wonder if that is maybe factoring into why the pace potentially not quite there. Goodway and Messina do have sister cars in the Vauxhall and the Cupra that they could surely get a bit of work, get a bit of intel from, do a bit of setup, figure out how to go around this circuit. About 6 or 7 odd miles north of Dunfermline, pun not intended with those numbers that I've just mentioned. But should be an interesting one, of course. It is slightly uphill, the start at here as well, and blind for some of the drivers. So you will need to be holding the brake when you're out there on the circuit. And to try and not stop yourself from rolling backwards, Sam Cree, that is a send and a half into Duffer's Dip. Again, the joys of sim racing in that you don't need to worry about breaking your spine and destroying the bottom of the car over curbs, so you can smash into those sausage curbs even more than they do in real life, which is already pretty intense, it must be said. Do now have a checkered flag out in our warm-up session, so we are now not too far away. 16 laps around this place here, Lorenzo. And what could be very interesting as well is if the pace for the front runners does seem to be quite significantly quicker than those towards the back end of the grid. So we could be seeing, within a very short while, a lot of traffic starting to cause a lot of issues.
Yeah, which I don't think is that big of an issue in real life BTCC. Oh, sorry, it's 24 laps here today.
Oh, the thing he lied to us.
Oh, we've been lied to. Oh, well, we've not been lied to, we just went away, but You know, it's 24 on a formation lap as well, we have to remember that, so it's immediately to the lights once everyone is on the grid. But yeah, if it's 24 laps, then it'll take slightly more, but just because it'll take slightly more for the traffic to get caught up, it just means that they'll have more time to impact the front runners here. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out, especially if there is, as you said, a massive discrepancy in the pace.
Absolutely. So we shall wait and see how it's all going to unfold. On board there briefly with Callum Wilson, your pole man. Now Alan Smith, the championship leader in the front-wheel drive category. Again, you can't really see the lights. You'll be on the brakes, as you can see from the rear lights being on from all of the cars in front. It's a weird little circuit, this, but it is a lot of fun as we get ourselves ready with the red lights coming on for round 6 of the British Touring Car Challenge. Here at Formula Racing Lead, we do have a green light, and we are going at Knockhill. Good launch there from Wilson. Taylor away very well, and assisted BMW as well as they come down to Duffer's Dip for the first time. Are we going to stay clean through to the bottom? McIntyre's turn 3. Wilson's gone straight on, overcorrected massively, and he's come back onto the racetrack. Does amazingly to hold the brake and not collect anybody. We do have chaos in the background as well, but the man who has dominated proceedings so far this season, a first mistake, a first chink in the armour, and he is down to P4 on the road as it stands. Carlo Messina leads from Cree from Goodway. It's a front wheel drive. 1, 2, 3 at the top. Just the smallest of mistakes there, Lorenzo, from Wilson. An overcorrection at the bottom of the dip, and round he went. He's lucky to still be in the race.
He is indeed, and he did well to correct himself there, but as you said, first mistake this season I think we've seen from Callum Wilson, and it's cost him 3 positions at the start. He's fallen down to 4th now, but he's got quite a bit of a gap up to Doug Wickens behind him, and that is 3 seconds I think he's got behind. That's Milos Cherzen I think dropping. That's a lot of people dropping in the back. There's ballers now being flung around. That's up to Infinity I think in the back in the grass. That's Milos Cherzen having to go wide to avoid Alan Smith. That's Piotr Voidula falling down to 14th. Now we're missing a person as well, by the way. It's only 14 cars, but there was 15 in qualifying, so someone's not started the race unfortunately. And yeah, Callum Wilson is already gaining time back on Sam Cree, who by the way had a massive start in that Toyota. Sam Cree getting all the way up from I think it was 7th to 3rd, now 4th unfortunately for the Toyota man. But he did very well on that start there, and to be in 4th, I think 4th would be his best result so far this year, as Doug Wickens in that Ford goes into pit lane.
So problems then for the sole Napa Racing Ford we have with us this evening. Hopefully Wickens able to make his way back out. Shearzan is also into the pit box as well, on board with the BMW of Callum Wilson, chasing down Goodway as it currently stands. And yeah, it doesn't look like the car's got any damage. It doesn't look uncomfortable from the onboard, or nothing outside of what you would expect anyway. But just maybe a small moment, and those small moments stick in the back of your minds as well. Knockhill is a circuit that does typically favour front-wheel drive machinery when British touring cars roll up to town. Of course, in rFactor 2, not always quite the same. The rear-wheel drive cars do tend to have a bit more of an inherent advantage at some tracks than they should, and then vice versa. Overall, the front-wheel drive cars are just a little bit better overall, which is not what you always see in the British Touring Car Championship. Proper lap 4 of 24 in race number 1 here at Knockhill, and on board with the rear-wheel drive championship leader. He is quickly hunting down Dave Goodway, who is now 3 seconds back from Carlo Messina. So the Cooper driver maybe trying to make a point here early doors, because he's just bolting away. Yes, maybe Goodway is a bit more concerned about the BMW that's stalking him down into Taylor's hairpin. Won't be stalking him for much longer, because if he doesn't slide the rear, he's going to get through here. In fact, chops right across, not having any of that one. Up to 2nd place goes Callum Wilson. But Goodway could be in trouble of dropping off of the overall podium here, because Sam Cree is not far behind him now.
No, not at all, but I think Sam Cree's losing time on Dave Goodway as opposed to gaining, and he does seem to be that case. I think he's lost about 2/10 just through the first 3 turns there, and there was yellow flags in sector 1. That is Milos Cherzen, who just came out of pit lane. He was a lap down. I think there was about a minute repairs for the Polish driver, and is now rejoining the track in a very odd manner. but luckily enough, nobody around on the track for him to impede, and Milos Chozan gets away with that very odd rejoin, but moving away from the Polish drivers, who's sadly now a lap down in 14th and last. Oh, that's Alan Smith in the Toyota. Oh, that's Alan Smith in the Hyundai. Sorry, I think there might have been contact between himself and one of Martin Morrell or Tom Brunel. We didn't quite get a good look on that because of the camera angle, but I think there must have been contact there between some manner of the three of them on the railway straight, and Alan Smith, who's leading the front wheel drive championship, now falls all the way down to 11th now, and we're going to take a look at the replay of what exactly happened there.
Got to be contact, surely. Oh. Yes, it is. Big contact is there. It's two lines trying to converge into one, and a big impact into those tyres for Alan Smith. Of course, the unfortunate nature of sim racing means that tyres don't do what tyres do in real life. They're actually quite rock solid in rFactor 2, and they will cause a whole lot of damage. So that's a real shame, but he's looking like he's able to continue on his way. It is continuing on his way with some conviction, actually, as he basically sends it sideways through the chicane. Here is a move for position being made by Wickens on Voyoglio up there through the right-hander, where you're going over the crest. It's a bit awkward, but gets it done at Clark's, and will continue on his merry way, named, of course, after Jim Clark, the legendary driver, a multi-time Formula 1 world champion, and, of course, British touring car champion as well, or the British Saloon Car Championship, as it was known back in the day in the 60s. It took a little bit of time before it gave itself the moniker that we all know and love for today. Here is Carlo Messina. That gap was 3 seconds back to Callum Wilson when he got thrown good way. Now down to just over 1. So Messina could be in a bit of trouble here. Wilson, despite that shaky start and seemingly looking like he hasn't quite recovered from incidents, and as he uses all of the track and then some on the run into Duffer's Dip, Callum Wilson is coming, and you're now thinking about, well, it's maybe more of a matter of when rather than if the BMW is going to get through.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, just a matter of when Callum Wilson will get past Carlo Messina, because I think the gap when we switched over to Carlo Messina's point of view was roughly 1.9 seconds. It's been, I think, just now a full lap of when that happened. The gap is now 1 second, well, just now under a second. So Callum Wilson seems to be gaining more than a second now a lap on Carlo Messina, and I think if this continues, if Messina isn't smart with his defences, or if he doesn't utilise the traffic in front of him to his advantage, then he could get overtaken by lap 11 here, and there is traffic right in front of Carlo Messina here. It's just a question, oh, never mind, that was, I think, the Vauxhall of Johnny Sutton, and there's still yellow flags in sector 2. I think we saw Sergio Osorio drop down. Yep, I think that is him in the gravel there. In the other Cooper, it is very lovely looking Cooper, but unfortunately in the tyre barriers there. And we're not quite sure whether he'll continue or not, because he's just standing there still. But yeah, Carlo Messina had 2 opportunities to use the traffic to his advantage to hold Callum Wilson up, and both drivers who were part of that traffic decided to bin it. So Carlo Messina now under massive pressure from Callum Wilson. He might think of a move into Duffer's Dip and doesn't do so. So Carlo Messina's still safer now.
For the time being anyway, but Wilson is hunting him like a dog out there at this Scottish racing circuit. We've already seen a fair few succumb to the nature, the likes of Chers and the likes of Osorio. You can still see stranded in the gravel trap. Maybe Messina isn't going to fall prey to the circuit, but will be certainly falling prey to the BMW behind, who is all over him and then some. Big look down into Taylor chicane, nowhere near close enough, and actually runs it a bit deep. That's not too much of a problem if you miss the braking there by a couple of meters, because you can just wind the lock on and basically straight line the corner exit and hope that you draw alongside on the run into Duffer's Dip, which is what Wilson is going to try and do, but too far back, decides against it on that occasion. They've got that Infinity in front of them to try and negotiate their way around, which they do so very nicely into McIntyre's as they get out of the way. Very sportsmanlike of that into there. Now the chicane once again. We did see Wilson running a little bit wide out of here a couple of laps ago. He keeps it clean this time. It looks like he seems to be trying to line it up into the hairpin at Taylor's, the final corner. Gets a good run out of Clark's, and this could be the moment that decides this race as we're quickly approaching the halfway marker in this contest. A little look to the inside, but a lock up from the outside front for Wilson, and he will have to stay put for the time being. Great drive out of Taylor's though. They'll draw side by side as they make it lap number 12 across the beam. Looks like that Cupra is good in a straight line. Who is braver though? It will be Messina. He holds firm for the time being, but he's deep. He's deep out of Duffer's Dip. He's going to cover off the inside masterfully well, and he will have the inside as well through the chicane. So I think for the time being he's going to get away with it. We're seeing a hell of a defensive drive out there so far.
We are absolutely, and Carlo Messina, we did see the Infinity of Abdelarayerin earlier on, but what Carlo Messina was doing was biding his time, getting past him. It was leeching off of the slipstream from the behind of that Infinity, and now even when they're so far past him, it doesn't seem to be needing it. But Callum Wilson looked so much faster there through Taylor's, slightly held up by Carlo Messina, who was slower on exit, and that seems to have worked in Messina's favour because Callum Wilson is too far back to even think of a move into Duffer's Dip here. And Carlo Messina safe for yet another Sector 1 here around Knockhill. And we saw Carlo Messina and how aggressively takes the chicane here. I think we're going to see him take here. There we go. Carlo Messina, he takes that chicane so much more aggressively than Callum Wilson. You can see him lift off and just fly a bit through it. But it seems to be helping him, but I think that help has ran out because Callum Wilson is very, very close to Carlo Messina. I think there might be a chance for a move here, and he goes to the inside of Taylor's. There might be some door banging here. I think there was some slight one, and Callum Wilson pushes his way through back into P1 where he started. Only took him just over half the race.
Well, a bit of beating and banging, nothing wrong with that, but Messina will not be happy if he has the pace to stay with that BMW. We'll wait and see, but he was at pretty much full chat already. Slide there on the rear from Wilson, bit too much speed through McIntyre's. He'll get away with it though, because it's only short runs up to the next couple of corners. So let's see what that Cooper can do. Can he stay with that all-dominant, almighty BMW, the number 24 of Callum Wilson? On the Exeter Clarks then, looks okay from the pair of them. Still pretty tight between the pair of them. Again, if you do make a mistake, the part of the beauty of Knockhill is it's so short, you don't need to worry about it really messing you up for a long time. Messina looked to the inside. That'll hurt his drive there on the way up the main straight, so he'll stay where he is for the time being, but shows he's got confidence on the brakes, and that was very much a warning shot bow to Callum Wilson, going, look, you need to cover me off because I will stick it up the inside if the gap's available. Is a gap available into McIntyre's? Doesn't look it. Big kick up a gravel there on the Exeter McIntyre's. I think that might be a lap car just running a bit deep. Yes, indeed it was. Could potentially be Sutton in at the Vauxhall. So we'll wait to see what Messina's got, but he's clearly confident on the brakes into the hairpin at Taylor's, and it seems to be that he's going to try and do what Callum Wilson did to him.
Yeah, absolutely, and the thing with Carlo Messina following Callum Wilson so closely, I don't think we've seen this at any other point in the season so far, as Carlo Messina thinks of a move around the outside of Taylor's here, but he hurts his drive even more, and he's dropped off so much now from Callum Wilson, who has such a better exit through the final hairpin there, and where the gap was only roughly 3/10 to 2/10 every single lap. Now he's grown to 7 to 8/10, and I think Carlo Messina has wasted his tyres a bit through Taylor's there. And what I was going to say is where Carlo Messina wasn't following, as I'll continue my thought after we see what happened to Sergio Osorio. Just, well, I think he could have continued.
Is he trying to go?
I'm looking at the pedal input, and it's almost as if has his engine gone, because he's.
Yeah, there's no revs, so he's either blown the motor, or it's almost like soft locked itself into the wall, because there's no revs. So I wonder if he's hit the wall with the throttle on, and it's just sent the revs spiking, having lifted the wheels off the ground, and it's just killed the thing, which would be a big shame. But yeah, that's definitely got no combustion going on internally, shall we say. Yeah, very bizarre. Here's what happened to Sam Cree in the GR Toyota Just got it on the grass a little bit into Clark, spins around and does just kiss the barrier. Should have got away with that without too much damage. Oh, and there's somebody spinning in sympathy on the inside there as well. Hope they were able to get going, whoever that was. I think it may have been one of the Infinities.
Ooh.
And then is this the incident we saw with Alan Smith? Potentially it was. Potentially that's what led to that. So Sam Cree has continued on his merry way, at least. Osorio is still our sole DNF after what seemed to be a blown motor. Bit of a interesting line through there. That's just a connection problem for Sam Cree, that'll be. Don't worry. He's still very much driving and in this race, even if he does look like he's floating just a little bit. Here's Marcin Morrill in the sister Toyota. He's hunting down Brunel in one of the Power Maxed Vauxhalls. And a little bit too far back for a move coming into Taylor's, I think. There is that tarmac change there you have to worry about as well. There's that awkward patch. And as well, you have to modulate the brakes quite a lot into Taylor's because there's lots of bumps and the ground, it rises, it falls away from you. You can't really see it on your camera, but it's so easy to lock up, especially the outside front into that corner. We did see Callum Wilson do it earlier. So you do need to really modulate the brakes. I think Carlo Messina has made a mistake because he's suddenly dropped 2.5 seconds back from Callum Wilson on lap 18 of 24. Still, of course, leading the way in the front-wheel drive contest. But suddenly there's a big old gap separating our two front runners. It's gone from 1 second to now 3. So there's either been contact somewhere or there's been an S-shoot for the Cupra driver. And he's actually not too far away from Dave Goodway, potentially. So if he's used too much tyre, if the mistakes are starting to creep in, this could be a big moment for Dave Goodway. And, of course, in the championship as well, with those two on equal points and behind the championship leader, who is really struggling in this race for whatever reason that may be. Alan Smith currently down in P7. That is P4 in the front-wheel drive class. And Dave Goodway is desperate to work his way through this Vauxhall, who very nicely gets out of the way. I think he probably knows what's at stake here. He's got to make up 2 seconds. Yeah, Messina's losing loads of time. I wonder if he's lost his tyres or something. Or Wilson has just found some clear air and is starting to clean off.
I think it might be a mixture of both, as well. As we can see, Carlo Messina is entering traffic here again. And this time traffic is working against his favour, meaning Carlo Messina seems to be losing time as well as his tyres. And I think Callum Wilson, as we said, has found some clean air at last and has managed to pick the pace up, which resulted in the gap looking quite absurd now, where it was roughly 1.5 seconds earlier. Now it's 5, nearly 5.5, no, more towards the 5 second time slot, if you can call it that even. But now Carlo Messina has lost a massive amount of time on Callum Wilson. And I think we knew once Callum Wilson got past Carlo Messina, it would be hard for the Italian to get back past him. But now it's going to be very, very hard for him to get back past him unless Callum Wilson somehow managed to make a horrid mistake. But equally enough, Dave Goodway, we were talking about how his gap to Carlo Messina is fairly close. But interestingly enough, the gap between Messina and Wilson is roughly the same as it is between Goodway and Messina. So I think if neither Wilson or Messina make any mistakes, they're going to stay in the positions they're in right now. And I think Goodway will stay in third as well, because Jason A. Taylor is 12.5 seconds behind him as well. There's only really 2 battles going on at the moment, or well, 1 now, because there was a battle between Doug Wickens and Piotr Wojdylo for 9th earlier on, but now Doug Wickens seems to have lost a massive amount of time and is 2 seconds behind. But Tom Brunel is still under a second behind Marcin Morrill for that P5. So the Belgian in that Vauxhall is chasing down the better of the Polish drivers in that Speedy Eagles Toyota team, as this is what happened to Doug Wickens, cutting through Duffer's Dip and through McIntyre's as well. And I'm assuming that's where he lost most of his time to Piotr Wojdyla. You can see the Polish driver there with Callum Wilson right behind him as he goes through the chicane into the gravel as well. So yeah, very clear as to why and how he's lost the time, as Tom Brunel had some air through the chicane as well and went to the gravel. That's how he lost P5 to Marcin Morrill, and he's still chasing down the Polish driver in, as I said, that Speedy Eagles Toyota car. And on lap 22 of 24, he's still got plenty of time for well, I won't say plenty of time because Knockhill is a short track, but he's still got time to catch the Polish driver.
They do indeed. Wickens there doing his best rallycross impression. There did used to be a rallycross course here for a couple of years, which basically involved them dumping a load of mud coming into the final hairpin. It didn't last very long, unfortunately, but you know, it was there, I suppose, and I think they didn't even use the proper final hairpin. I think they used the national layout, which cuts across a little bit sooner, so it's a slightly shorter lap time even then. Brilliant makes his way back onto the main straight out of Taylor's. Got a pretty good run out of there, but he's too far back for a move on Morrill just yet. Would be an aggressive move into Duffer's Tip, I think it is very much safe to say. He's not really under any pressure right now from Smith behind either, though, so maybe he's trying to see if he can slide his way onto what will be the front-wheel drive podium places. It is Morrell in P5, who currently resides in P3 in class. Up the front, though, Callum Wilson. Well, it has been a very messy race by his standards, but a fantastic comeback. Well, I say comeback, it was only a couple of places he had to work through. We've got his head down after that mistake early doors, has driven his own race, and is going to come through to take yet another race victory. And, yeah, well, again, he's won every single race so far this season. And continuing on that form into the second half of 2026. One turn to go in race number 1 as he cranks on the lock of that BMW, kicks out the rear for a bit of good laughs as well. And Callum Wilson is going to take the checkered flag once again in the FRL British Touring Car Challenge. He wins a pretty messy race number 1 at Knockhill and is straight back into the pit lane. Shows he's clearly not too happy with how things have gone. Carlo Messina, a fantastic drive from him to take victory in the front-wheel drive classes. Dave Goodway will take second there, so it should be, if my math serves me correctly, it will still be Smith just with the championship lead, I think. But it will now be Messina in P2 by a couple of points. Taylor crosses the line, brings home P4. He's P2 in the rear-wheel drive class. P3 in the rear-wheel drive class will be whoever the leading Infinity is. I believe it is Wadjulo down in P9 as the rest of the drivers making their way home. Morrell does hold on to that final podium place in the front-wheel drive category, though Brunel was catching him, so maybe another lap or two, and that could have been all change as Alan Smith makes it home cleanly. Wadjulo Wickens, they will lap. They've already finished this race. But a very interesting race number 1 at Knockhill. As we predicted, a bit of chaos on the opening lap and then traffic really getting involved. But Callum Wilson, yes, he did win that race, Lorenzo, but that did show that he is not completely indestructible. He is potentially human after all.
Yeah, you stole the words right out of my mouth. He is human after all with that mistake at the start. We're going to take a look through the replay of what exactly happened to Alan Smith, I think, at the start, to cause him to be so low in the finishing order. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, we're just taking a look at again what happened to Callum Wilson. He did very well to save that again. He nearly took Carlo Messina out, and I think if that happened, there would have been some not so kind words thrown around after the race. But did very well to control it, and I think we've gone back to the start of the race, or have we swapped sessions?
We'll figure it out. We'll take it as it is. Again, we've already been lied to when it told us it was going to be a 16-lap race, then it was 24, so who knows what's going on. But there are still 2 more races scheduled to come your way this evening here at the FRL British Touring Car Challenge, round number 6 of the 2026 season. If you're just joining us, if you missed that first race, you missed a very interesting one and sets some interesting standards going forward. Knockhill always entertaining, to say the least, both in the British Touring Car Championship and always in Sim as well. It's one of the trickiest circuits to do within Sim. Let's see what happened to Callum Wilson. I'm assuming the rear stepped out. Oh, just caught it on a bump. The rear went and massively overcorrected it. And then good job from everyone else to not smash into the back of him there. And again, good car control to get it turned around the right way and to get out of the way of everyone. But yeah, that's a very, I don't want to say schoolboy mistake to make, but you know that Knockhill is bumpy. He's just been slightly caught out by one and just massively overcorrected on the run into McIntyre's. So again, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. He went on to win the race anyway. But yeah, you don't normally expect to be seeing something like that from a driver of his caliber. So very, very interesting indeed. But we'll wait and see how it's all going to unfold. Of course, if this is not to your liking, there is, of course, a Taco Tuesday on FRL TV as well. You can go and join Andrea Mattavelli over on Assetto Corsa Competizione and see what's happening over there. Currently looks like there's some cars going around the track. That does tend to be the case with sim racing, but I hope everyone else is enjoying that action over there Also live view now on FRL TV. Here, live view and free, of course, on YouTube. But we're just waiting to kickstart race number 2, so we'll let rFactor 2 do its thing, and then we'll get underway for another 24-lap contest. So, it wasn't as chaotic on lap number 1 as I was expecting it to be, but still pretty chaotic, Lorenzo. And maybe people, now there's one race under their belts, we're just going to flex the muscle a bit more, but try and be a bit more brave down into Duffer's Dip and McIntyre's.
Potentially, I think some of the people who struggled in the first race are going to be very eager to right their wrongs from the first race. I think Alan Smith is definitely going to be among them. Jason A. Taylor usually is on the podium or challenging for the podium, but this time around he was very, very far off from the two front-wheel drive cars of Carlo Messina and Dave Goodway in second and third. And we did say Knockhill is a very front-wheel drive favourable track, but Jason A. Taylor from the previous rounds, even on tracks that did favour front-wheel drive cars in the previous rounds, was very, very close to them. So maybe he's just not as comfortable around Knockhill as some of the other people are. But no, I think he's going to be wanting more from the second and third races as well. I think Sam Cree, who started very well in the first race, climbed all the way up to second for a while and then dropped slowly back down. I think he'll want to try and climb back up to that position, potentially stay there, because I think if he's smart enough with it, he can stay in the top 5, but I think it remains to be seen.
Yeah, Cree looked like he was having a couple of connection issues towards the back end of the race as well. So I wonder if he was maybe having some on-screen lag for himself. I wonder if that maybe was causing some issues, because he did look like he was driving okay. Yeah, not sure. Anyway, warm-up time for race number 2, so there'll be a couple of minutes. You can relax, get yourself a... relax and rest. I somehow managed to get those words mixed up. But, I'm very tired. Do let me off. Yes, we got a bit of time before our second race. Another 24-lapper for you here at Knockhill. A touch north of Dunfermline, up not quite in the Highlands, but it is Scotland, so you're going to say it anyway. And, again, one of my favourite racetracks that the touring cars go to. It's a lot of fun whenever these boys roll into town. Of course, it is Scotland's premier motor racing venue as well. Anybody in Scotland who tells you it's the East Fortune is completely lying to you, because let's be brutally honest, no it isn't. Have you ever seen East Fortune before? That place is interesting, to say the least.
I've never even heard of it.
There's a reason why. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, no, Scotland, for a country with a lot of motor racing heritage, you don't get a lot of tracks there because it's cold and wet and miserable. So it's not really great to go racing there. And, well, you've got Knockhill, which, to be brutally frank, as much as I love it, by kind of wider UK racetracks context, it is not the nicest place in the world. The facilities are a bit old. There is a new media centre now, which they built last year, I think, when they had to knock down the old cafe, and everyone was very upset about that.
I would be as well.
Yeah, no, the new cafe's quite good, though, to be fair. I'll give it that. And the bar's really good as well, if you're ever there on a night out. Yeah, it's compared to some of like the MSV circuits and, you know, your places like your Silverstones, your Doningtons and whatnot, it maybe lacks a bit of facilities and niceness and whatever. But compared to everywhere else in Scotland, oh my god, it's like walking into a 5-star hotel after you've just been sleeping on a bench the night before. It is wonderful, quite frankly. But it's also it's a great circuit. I mean, everybody absolutely loves it because it keeps you busy, I think, is the main thing, because it is so short. I know I mentioned this in the previous race when I was talking about how if you do make a mistake, you get away with it here more than other places because there's less space for it to have an issue. You don't lose as much time going down straights and you don't mess yourself up through sectors. Because it's so short, it's very easy to recover that and get back on pace. But also because it's so short, you're basically constantly at work behind the wheel. So it keeps you active, it keeps you involved. So I do like that about this track. And again, a lot of drivers, even though in sim it's a bit of a nightmare, a lot of drivers do like it. That's I'm glad to see so many people here with us tonight and enjoying the very finest of what Scotland has to offer. So yeah, it's a track I very like, and not just because this turn 3 is named after me. It's not, but just by a coincidence, I share a name with it. But no, it is a great circuit. And again, you get to see stuff like that where you get cars up on 2 wheels, up completely in the air, going through the chicane. I always find it great. It's great if challenging in sim. It's great for real-world motorsport. It's a fun circuit. And yes, long may it continue being the premier location for motorsport and
Absolutely, and I was gonna say something on the topic of that, but I don't think I will have the time here in this warm-up session. But as great as Knockhill is, here's really the only representation within the BTCC calendar that's not inside of England. And I think obviously there's great tracks in England that aren't on the BTCC calendar. I think the first that comes to mind, for example, would be something like Castlecombe or Cadwell. I think Mallory would be fun, but I don't think the facilities would be there. But for example, Anglesey, I think Anglesey would be lovely in BTCC cars. Or I don't know if there's a track in Northern Ireland, to be quite honest. But if there is, even if there isn't, really, I think Mondello Park would be absolutely lovely in BTCC to have it again.
I mean, it would be great. I mean, we can always throw around these superlatives and go, oh, where would we like to go? Again, I'm a big believer of take us back to Castlecombe. It's been well over 10 years since we were last there now with touring cars, and I miss it every day. It's a lot of fun for this type of racing, proper beating and banging stuff. But yeah, again, it's a combination of what's good logistically, where are you going to get fans through the door as well. You know, it's one of the age-old adages, I suppose, of, you know, the theoreticals of, oh, I'd love to see this series here, but, you know, for whatever reason, they don't turn up. Yeah, Mondello Park, again, totally agreed. I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, Cadwell, I think, logistically would be a bit of a nightmare, but it would be a lot of fun to see some touring cars whacking around there, and I can guarantee that one for you. Anyway, we do have lights on for race number 2, another 24 laps for your gridders as we ended race number 1. Green flag is waving at Knockhill, and it's a great launch from pole position for Callum Wilson. Smith has already got 2 wheels in the grass as they're trying to go 4 wide into Duffer's Dip. That is not going to work through there. I'll be amazed if we're all pointing in a straight direction. Somebody's gone straight on, and it is chaos. It is absolutely chaos in the background. We've got 3, 4, 5 cars facing the wrong direction. Goodway's in the grass. Messina's dropped from 2nd to 4th and has just broken his spine given the landing he had off of the curb there. But he stays in the race at lead. Wilson, much better start this time. It is a BMW 1-2 as well as they come through Clark's for the opening time. Who was it that got caught up in that opening lap chaos then? Must have been Sutton and Iorwan, who are the 2 that we saw going round. Whoa. That's a huge crash. Brunel end over end and lid onto lid, and has come back onto the racing surface as well, and has collected, I believe, that was Irwin in the Hyundai that he smacked into. He came together with somebody in the braking zone, and that is a monster impact there. And we do have a safety car, understandably, I believe, following that one. No, is that just somebody trying to scrub some dirt off the tyres? It may well have been. There's still yellow flags out in Sector 2, though. What a chaotic opening lap here. That was more like it.
That definitely felt more like Knockhill, especially with the things going on in Duffer's Dip. I think that might have been Ariavin and Sutton facing backwards going into the grass through, just fully missing the turn. And I think Tom Brunel, after what happened there between himself and I think that was Martin Morrell who he had contact with, he's managed to haul his car back into pit lane. So I don't know how the Belgians managed to do that, but I mean, I commend him for that, because how he managed to get the car to pit lane after tumbling around, and I would have imagined he would have blown his engine or what happened, but no, he's managed to get to pit lane. So yeah, massive props to him for that, and massive props to not only Alan Smith, who we see now in 4th, so he's climbed up from, I think it was 8th where he finished, or 9th. So he's gained 4 or 5 positions. Jason A. Taylor, he started in 4th after finishing in 4th in race 1. He's climbed back up to 2nd, so those are the 2 people who I said are going to be wanting more from race 2 after being fairly disappointing compared to the rest of their results from the previous rounds in race 1, as that is Piotr Vojdolo and the other Infinity in the gravel. I think that is on the inside of chicane, it is. So he's dropped all the way down back again. But now Jason A. Taylor now is P2, whereas he was 4th in race 1. So he's making up that 1-2 for BMW, and we've got the 3rd BMW. Oh, No, I think Piotr Wojla has given up, and I think Daniel Irvin, who did qualify but missed race 1, did that. Oh, that's Tom Brunel. I think that's Sam Cree who had contact with, and yeah, I think that's on Sam Cree, to be quite honest, with everyone watching.
I mean, we've seen some big ones at Knockhill before in years gone by. If you cast your mind back to the Group A days of the early to mid-90s, there was always some monster ones. That's up there. That's a huge impact, and then a big roll back onto the circuit. There was more chaos as well in front of him as he landed. Yeah, Tom Brunel being sent for a ride, I think it is safe to say. And, well, I'm amazed that no one else got collected in that incident, to be fair. And again, did get the engine refired and was able to get going once again. Of course, car in tatters, so will have been straight into the pit lane to try and get it fixed. Actually, doesn't look like there's too much suspension damage on the thing. There is a little bit of crabbing going on, but yeah, straight into the pits for repairs for the Vauxhall man. And he's actually just rejoined him. He's just headed back out, actually. Isn't that good timing? So Brunel back onto the racing surface. It does stay still in the pit lane for some reason. That's probably just rFactor having a moment because he's behind Modulo, who is now DNF'd. Back to the front. This is the fight for the front-wheel drive race leader. And Alan Smith, who's looked a little bit off it so far this evening, is now trying to fight with Carlo Messina for P3 overall and to see if he can reinstate himself, reassert not quite the dominance, but get himself a bit more breathing room in the championship fight. As Messina, a little bit of an internet issue there for him on the run down into Duffer's Dip. Alan Smith has done some showboating through McIntyre's. That is not how you should take that corner, and he's going to lose out to Goodway as a result. Bit of beating and banging through the chicane as well. Way too much sausage curb and up onto the sidewheels. Did well not to roll the thing through there, and Smith was looking like he was going to be fighting for the lead. Now he's got it all to recover here on lap 6.
Yeah, Alan Smith, I mean, he was very old as Martin Morrill in one of the Speed Eagles Toyota cars. I think I kept calling Hyundais in the first race, so apologies to the Polish team there. I think he's dropped from 6th or 7th there, so he's dropped behind his teammate in Milos Cherzan, behind Sam Cree as well as Sergio Soria, and Doug Wickens now is 10th. So a bit heartbreaking for the Polish driver there, as we'll see now what happened to him. This is on board with Alan Smith, who we'll take a look at first. Yeah, Alan Smith going for bangers, but very, very close to becoming the mash himself, and lost the place to Dave Goodway there as well. So the leader of the front wheel drive championship losing massive points on Carlo Messina and Dave Goodway there, as Martin Morrill just took too much gravel exiting the chicane and lost the rear end. But no, Alan Smith's not doing well at all here at Knockhill here today, boss.
No, look for a moment. Oh, and off into the wall.
That's Dave Goodway.
It's Goodway. That's also huge for the championship, as well as Dave Goodway has gone straight on at Clark's. Was there contact or was there a touch on the grass in the way? And he does get that Vauxhall rolling again. But more drama here in race number 2 of the British Touring Car Challenge. Car looks okay, making its way down the back, not quite as straight. We'll see if he dives into the pit lane, though. If there is damage visually, it looks fine. Doesn't seem to be much crabbing going on for the man who, again, is fighting very heavily for the championship lead in front-wheel drive. Bit of a flash of the lights there from Irwin behind. I don't think of any relation to the Irwin motorbiking family. But yes, Goodway able to continue onwards and stay on pace. So whatever that was, a small mistake, likely not a big touch into the barriers, but one that could have serious championship implications at the end of this weekend. Let's get a replay of what's happened. And was there contact with Alan Smith on the run in? Yeah, just squeezed him. Oh. Smith's actually gone end over end. That's a second roll we've got. He's landed it and just continued on his merry way. And Goodway, did he try to rejoin the circuit and then just get it wrong or go straight on? Yeah, looks it. Just didn't have the space to get it kicked around and then went off into the... Oh, a bit of a connection issue there for him, it would seem as well. That seems to be plaguing a few people here. Scotland not being kind to us this evening. But yeah, so Smith got squeezed big time there. Goodway definitely should have given him more space. Smith then touches him, then goes end over end, somehow lands it and just goes, all right, well, that's a position. Thank you very much. And now Smith can probably try and hunt down Messina again. So everybody's been in the wars this evening, basically.
Yeah, I must say, Style points for Alan Smith for the overtake, but as you said, looked like a very, very big squeeze from Dave Goodway on Smith there. And I mean, in the end of things, Dave Goodway was the one who came out worse from it, as he's now all the way down in 10th. And Daniel Irvin, who was very close to him when we were on board with Dave Goodway, now the gap is much bigger again, 7 seconds, so something must have happened. Either Goodway has picked up the pace again because of the clean air, or Irvin has made a mistake. But at the same time, I don't think he's lost any time on Johnny Sutton or Abdullah Ray, even behind him as well. And Daniel Irvin, he missed race 1, so he did qualify in. And I think he qualified towards the back end of the field. I think 13th might have been where he was. Missed race 1. The thing is, with Daniel Irvin, he did qualify in a BMW, but now he's racing in a Hyundai, so we're not quite sure what the deal there is with Daniel Irvin, as Martin Morrell makes a move on Doug Wickens, who goes very, very wide into Taylor's and makes the job easy for the Polish driver and goes into pit lane. So something must have happened to Doug Wickens to warrant that. But no, we're not quite sure what's happening with Daniel Irvin and why he's now in a Hyundai after doing qualifying in a BMW.
Doug Wickens into the pits then, and had to roll slightly forward to get in his box. Now he does go up onto the jacks. The touring car pit stop is not a quick operation, unfortunately. They're basically not really any regulations, but you basically got one mechanic and one guy on the tyres, and that's it. So they do normally have to change each one individually if you are coming in. So if it starts raining in the middle of the race, gets a bit interesting at least. So Wickens will be parked there for a long amount of time before he makes his way back out. You're now halfway through this race. Wilson with 6-second lead over Taylor. Messina now with a comfortable advantage in the front-wheel drive pack, given the chaos of those behind him. Here's what happened to Daniel Irwin. A bit of side-to-side action. Again, connection issues for him on the run down into Duffer's Dip. Car doesn't look like it's particularly comfortable over the bumps. Maybe set up a bit too stiff, potentially. So is there an issue going through the chicane? Potentially takes a bit too much and it lands funny. No, that was all okay. So then it's going to be up into Clark, surely. It was slow at it. No, it's actually coming into the final hairpin at Taylor. So maybe we were a lap early in the Tom Chilton car. And it's teleported and parked him on the corner exit. And then he's carrying on. And then is there further issues for him into Duffer's Dip? Let's wait and find out. Liberal view on track limits through there, but all looks okay. And he's gone for the two-wheeled showboating as well. I was going to say on the previous lap, the car looked really stiff and skittish. That is what launches you up onto two wheels when you hit that sausage curb at McIntyre's. It's just, there's just no giving the suspension. It shoots you right up, which is not what you want to do. So Daniel Ernan has learned that lesson. Hopefully he won't be doing that again this evening.
Yeah, and he has gained that position on account of the fact that Doug Wickens has pitted, so he's now up into 10th. But looking a bit further up the field, that's Sergio Soria, who was the only DNF in the first race, as there's yellow flags in Sector 2. And that is... I think that is Johnny Sutton who we were talking about. That is Johnny Sutton in P11. So he's now been lapped, I think, by P8. So not going well for the only other man in the Vauxhall. Vauxhall's doing horribly in this second race, as a matter of fact. Tom Brunel in 14th after having that horrible accident on the first lap, and you can see him right there as well, getting past him. And Johnny Sutton in 11th. So no, not going well for the Vauxhalls here at all. Dave Goodway in 9th as well after his issues with Alan Smith. No, not going well for the Vauxhalls at all. But while I was talking about Sergio Sorio, he's still very close to Martin Morrell, just over a second behind the Polish driver, and I don't think there's going to be many changes in the top. Oh, that's Daniel Irving. No, I think that's Dave Goodway getting past Daniel Irvin, or is that Doug Wickens falling behind Johnny Sutton? I think it might have been, because we saw Doug Wickens there in the gravel through McIntyre. It was very hard for me to see which positions exactly got exchanged, but Abdullah Aroye, he's gone into pit lane, so the Infinities are not doing well as well. One in last and another out the race. This is what happened to Doug Wickens. Okay.
Yeah, it looked like he locked up almost on the bumps or something. in that Napa Ford. The Alliance Racing Ford, sorry, should I say, as they're now called. Yeah, lost the rear, a bit too much curve through the left, and then lost the rear, and then got all four wheels locked up, and then, well, at that point you are on a one-way ticket into the tyre barriers, as the virtual crowd loving the action here at the British Touring Car Challenge, race number 2 of round 6 in 2026 here at Formula Racing League. Hope you're enjoying all of the action as well. If you are watching along, make sure you like, share, subscribe. All of the above help get the championship out there, not just to help promote the drivers, but promote the great racing of Formula Racing League, and to show the world what we can do, and again, maybe find some new people to come and join us a little bit later in the season as well, because who doesn't love massive grid to round off what has been a great 2026. Lap 17 and 24, this has been much more ordinary for Callum Wilson. He's got 10 seconds advantage over Taylor. Looks very comfortable, no mistakes, no issues for the BMW driver, and is set to go home and take yet another victory in 2026. I mean, will have won, well, I mean, he's won every race so far this season, both overall and in the rear-wheel drive category. Of course, the two championships, front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive, are scored separately, but he has won them on the road as well, not just out there in terms of being the leading front-wheel drive car. So he is continuing to dominate. So this will be his 17th race win in a row now, looking to make it 18 at the end of the weekend, which is pretty good going. Carlo Messina is now on the back of Taylor, though. So the Cupra driver wanting to try and see if he can slide into second place here late in the day as we go on to lap 18.
Yeah, and Carlo Messina was 4 seconds back from Jason A. Taylor before we panned over to them. So the Briton must have made a mistake somewhere else, because the gap between himself and Wilson has also gone up. It was 10 seconds and now it's 14. So I think he must have made a mistake, because the time is lost on, oh yeah, there you go, going through the chicane, clipping the sausage curve just a bit too much and doing a 360 pirouette. And Carlo Messina just unlucky enough, as that was, I think, one of the voxels in the background also having issues of the road. Carlo Messina just unlucky enough not to be close enough, and he's made a mistake of his own now, because he's 8 seconds behind, climbing up to 10. So what's happened to Carlo Messina now? While we're looking away what happened to Jason A. Taylor, the Italian has made a mistake of his own.
Yeah, has there been an incident between the pair of them potentially? So Messina still aggressive. Oh, he touches the gravel and it sends him, and that's going to be the wall, and that's a hard hit into the tyre barriers for the Italian. Lets it roll back onto the circuit, but just the slightest of touches for the gravel, and it just spat that Cupra out. That was really weird. You don't normally see cars reacting to gravel in that way. Wow, that's a big one. He'll still be on third if he's not got massive damage. We'll wait and see. There's still 5 or so laps left. 3.5 seconds away is Smith in the Hyundai. So Smith, after rolling it earlier on, could still well win this race. Messina still using all of the track and then some. There is some damage to that car, as you can see. So let's see if he has the pace to keep in front of the Hyundai, or if that simple little error is going to mean that a man who at one point in this race was on his roof is going to be taking home the front-wheel drive victory.
Yeah, I mean, we can see the steering wheel placement on Carlo Messina's car down. I mean, you can see it, and it was just, it's bent. You can't do anything about it. You can't tell it any other way. Carlo Messina has got massive front right suspension damage, and he's doing well to stay on pace, and he's chasing down Doug Wickens. He's staying in Doug Wickens' slipstream, really, who's not really letting pass with blue flags. He's got a 4-second gap on Alan Smith, who's behind in 4th in that Hyundai. So I think if Carlo Messina just keeps his head calm, he knows he can't really do anything anymore about squandering P2, as Doug Wickens lets him by through Clark's on account of the blue flags. And I think Carlo Messina, again, all he needs to do now is keep his head down, acknowledge that he's lost P2, and just try and stay in P3, because Alan Smith, I don't think he's got, well, as much damage as Carlo Messina does, and you can see it in the gap as well, because the gap was 4 seconds, now it's 2.7 coming into lap 21 of 24.
Yeah, I mean, Messina still probably knows that he is on for a race victory within the front-wheel drive class anyway, so of course that fighting for position with Taylor for P2 didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. as that is not the line through there from Alan. So maybe Smith pushing a bit too hard as well. So it's all to play for, basically. But yeah, he just needs to know that he needs to just calm it down ever so slightly. It should be okay, especially if he knows that Smith is also making errors, desperately trying to push to get that race victory within front-wheel drive. So there's only a handful of laps left. It could all change, but with 3.5 seconds, Messina looking like he's dealing with that damage okay. I think he'll be okay, and I think he'll be able to...
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the gaps at the moment, you can see Jason Taylor is 16 seconds behind Callum Wilson, Carlo Messina is 16 seconds behind Jason Taylor, and then Alan Smith is 3 seconds behind Carlo Messina. After that, quite a massive jump through the chicane by the Hyundai of Smith there. I think, talking about Callum Wilson, he's so comfortable in that lead. Look at the gap. I think that's the biggest gap he's had in the entirety of the season so far. And that's him behind, I think that is Milos Chersan he's behind right now. So if Callum Wilson had had more time, I think he would have been able... No, sorry, that's Marcin Morel is behind then. So he's about to lap P6. I think that if Callum Wilson had a couple more laps, say it was 27 laps or 28 laps, as that's Abdullah Rayevin taking the national hairpin, then I think he would have been able to lap Carlo Messina or Alan Smith as well. So he would have been able to lap everyone but the podium, which I think just puts into perspective how dominant Callum Wilson has been this year and the strength he has above the field. Not denying the strengths and the capabilities of the rest of the field, but Callum Wilson, I think it's obvious that he's a standout driver here, as we're still on board with Marcin Morel, who's not yielding on the blue flags to the BMW driver, but I don't think he'll need to as they're approaching the final hairpin. He does so anyways. Callum Wilson rounds the final corner for the final time in the second race, and he's going to cross the line for yet another win this season. This is round 6 and race 2. So that would mean this is his 17th win, I think, of 17 races this year.
Ridiculous domination. Just ridiculous domination from Callum Wilson. Taylor will bring home a very, very solid P2 in the sister BMW. Messina is going to hold on by about a second and a half from Smith. He does still need to negotiate his way around Taylor's, but I think he'll be all right, presuming he doesn't somehow get it lined up completely sideways off of the corner. So Messina will bring it home in P3 and will take that front-wheel drive class victory. Smith not too far away. Chersan set to take P3 in that one, though. He's got a big gap ahead of Morel. And then the third place driver, as Alan Smith, even a bit of a celebratory, just send it and see what happens. Third place in the rear-wheel drive category, it may well be Ayora one, who's down in P14, 2 laps down, given the lack of rear-wheel drive cars that we've got. So fair play to him. He's managed to get on the podium by finishing the race. But it is Wilson from Taylor from Messina, your top 3 overall. Messina from Smith from Chersan, your front 3 in front-wheel drive at the end of race number 2. And that one very much a war of attrition. We had 2 cars on their roofs, one of whom finished 4th place overall, 2nd place within the front-wheel drive class, and Alan Smith. Chersan P5, Marcin Morel 6th, then Sergio Osorio in the sister Cupra, Dave Goodway P8, Sam Cree in 9th, and Daniel Irwin in P10 to round out the top 10 in that Hyundai. Then it is Doug Wickens, Tom Brunel, who also had that rollover, that huge incident on lap number 1. He's followed by Johnny Sutton, Abdullah Oyorowan, who is the final podium finisher in the rear-wheel drive category, and then Piotr Vyodilo is our sole retirement from this evening's action, unfortunately for him. In race number 2, at least, anyway. Do not panic, good sir. You have still one more opportunity in race number 3 to make things happen and make it work out there on the circuit. So, a chaotic race number 2, Lorenzo. Race number 3, is this a case of basically you've got to hope that Callum Taylor makes a mistake again at the opening couple of corners?
Well, we have to remember as well that race 3, well, is going to be randomly selected from, I think, 6th down to 15th on who's going to be on reverse grid pole. So a lot, and I think I'm not quite sure whether BTCC does that in real life, I wish I could follow BTCC.
It is. It's drawn out of a hat by the winner of race 2, is what decides it. But it is 6th to 15th place. Is the reverse grid. Of course, we just have a random number selector, I guess. But they do make quite a big ceremony.
Yeah.
The race 2 winner goes onto the ITV Sport guides and literally just draws a number out of a hat, and whatever number that is, whoever finished there at the end of race number 2 starts on pole position, and everyone down to them is flipped. So that it is very similar to how it works in the actual BTCC.
Yeah, and I've just been told by a very, very lovely, not only driver but race director for today, Tom Brunel, that number for today is 9. So it will be reversed from 9th up to 1st, meaning whoever finished P9 in race 2 will be on reverse with pole.
Yes, it will be. So interesting then. P9, that is quite big here at Knockhill.
That is Sam Cree on pole position, as a matter of fact.
Who has been running okay today as well. He faded away a bit in race number 1 towards the end, but the pace was definitely there at the start of it. And then race number 2, of course, got caught in that incident on lap number 1. So that's a really good opportunity for Sam Cree. Let's see if he can convert that into something magical. Of course, we'll wait and see that. We've got to get a warm-up underway first before our final 24-lap race of this evening. So let's see what the racing gods have in store for us here, the third race of round number 6 of the British Touring Car Challenge here at Formula Racing League. Myself, Ross McIntyre, and Lorenzo Etrich-Funcic bringing you all of the action with the mighty Remco de Joux on the cameras this evening for you as well. One warm-up and one more race with 24 laps to go. And hopefully some interviews post-race. We'll see if anyone fancies it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And then that'll be it until, of course, we head back to Donington for our next round. Of course, going to the layout. So that should be a lot of fun. Looking forward into that one. And yeah, looking forward to that one massively. And Donington, a real classic circuit, a very different circuit from Knockhill as well, it must be said, especially with the Grand Prix loop instated in. But should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, likewise. And I think, obviously, I brought this up in the lead up to the second race, and the calendar within BTCC is lovely. But also, one thing that I'm not quite fond of in championships is the use of the same tracks. Obviously, Donington Park GP is not quite the same as the national layout. The same way Alton Park Highland isn't the same as the GP layout, or Brands Hatch GP and Indy Bean. Not quite the same, but I think you get what I'm trying to get at. What I want to say is, I think more variety in the calendar would be nice. And I mentioned some tracks, and we talked about some tracks. Castle Clone would be lovely to have back. I think Anglesey would work nice in these. Mondello Park could be interesting as well. I'm not quite sure. Actually, no, I think I remember hearing of a track in Northern Ireland. I think the name is Bishopscourt or something, but I don't know anything about the track other than its name. I think more variety in the BTCC calendar would be absolutely lovely. And taking a championship such as Formula E, for example. Formula E is a championship I really, really love in real life to follow. But I'm not quite fond of the double-header events they have. Obviously, the tracks in Formula E, some are very lovely. I went to the XL, to the London E-Prix last year. That was a lovely experience. But I think I'm just not fond of double headers. It's just, I don't know why it's a pet peeve of mine, but it just is.
No, that's fair enough. You know, different folks have different views in it. I mean, Donington, I will tentatively agree. Because the Grand Prix, I mean, it's like 2 extra straights and 3 extra corners, and I also prefer the national chicane anyway, since it got reprofiled about a decade or so ago. But then someone like Brands Hatch, yes, it makes a massive, massive difference there, because the Grand Prix loop, adding that in, you're basically adding a whole extra bit of racetrack in, and it completely changes how you approach the circuit and how you set the car up going into the races. But yeah, I would love to see you know, a bit more variety. I'd love to see a longer calendar as well, maybe 11 or 12 rounds to slot that in if we don't want to annoy everybody in the East Midlands and have 2 Donington rounds and stick with it. So yeah, I don't know, but then it's a case of, you know, where do we want to go? Does it work logistically? Again, Cadwell, I think, would be brilliant in a touring car, but logistically it would be an absolute nightmare to have a full Toka race weekend there. Of course, in Sim, not a problem. You don't need to worry about where you're going in the paddock and all of that, getting to the circuit, because you just press a button and it spawns you in pit lane. But in real life, yeah, it'd be a nightmare to get touring cars around that place, unfortunately, as an amazing of a racetrack that it is. But hey, maybe that's something we could look at as well. Maybe we throw in a wildcard round at the end of the season for 2027 in the British Touring Car Challenge and do something on our own thing. Let's go back to Castle Combe, or let's go to Cadwell or something like that. But again,
revive the Birmingham Super Prix.
I back it. I think we should, yeah. Is there a Birmingham Super Prix model for rFactor 2? There's got to be somewhere.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure if there's a model of Birmingham Super Prix for rFactor 2, but for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why, there is one for NR 2003. So,
well, you could port that. There's one for a Assetto Corsa apparently, and that's very easily portable. This is just me googling quick. Yeah, there's definitely one for Assetto Corsa, so why not? Let's bring it back. I'm a big fan of that one. And again, it's not hard to port tracks from AC over into rFactor. The fact there is one for NR 2003, though, is objectively really, really funny, but also doesn't surprise me at all, because those guys are mental with their mods to basically make that game into anything you want it to be. Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring back the Birmingham Super Prix. I back it.
I'll back it as well. I think that would be really, well, as funny as it would be entertaining.
That is definitely one way to put it. Well, we are lining up on the grid for our final race this evening. Reverse grid race number 3. It is Sam Cree on pole position. The reverse grid number was 9. So Wilson starts at the back end of the top 10. Cree and Goodway 1 and 2. Goodway, bit of a godsend for him, that one, after a messy race number 2 for a man who's very much in the championship fight for the front wheel drive category. Cree also not far away in that one, to be fair as well. We do have red lights on here at Knockhill. With green in race number 3. Good launch there from Smith. Great launch as well from the pole sitter, Goodway. Not away particularly well on the outside of the front row. He will have to slot back into second place as all the front wheel drive cars try and work their way through. There is a driver that has been sent round onto the inside wall there, but looks okay and looks clean outside of that one. Taylor's up to 6th. Wilson's up to 7th for the BMW, so they've swapped places at the opening few corners. Goodway still putting that pressure on to Cree. Smith also right there with him. He was leading the championship on the way into this weekend. Smith onto the gravel here early doors on lap 1 on the way out of Clark's. We're looking to try and go 3 abreast as Goodway is shoved onto the grass and then some. Somehow no incident as he rejoins the circuit on the run into Taylor's, but gets a great drive, the up and under, he gets it done. It will be Dave Goodway that leads us at the exit of lap number 1. Smith's going to try and follow him up the inside of that Toyota. It is now Vauxhall from Hyundai, from Toyota, your top 3, and it's Dave Goodway that leads the way.
Yeah, and Dave Goodway, I mean, he's managed to get past Sam Creed after some dubious defending it in the final corner, and Alan Smith has as well, but I don't think they'll last for long. Jason A. Taylor and Callum Wilson are currently a bit further down. Obviously, the two BMWs there in 6th and 7th, in a bit of a Cooper sandwich, so sorry, in 5th and Massini in 8th. But I think Callum Wilson, it won't take him long to get up to Goodway and Smith, and I think Smith will get past Goodway by the time Wilson gets to them. As we can see, a bit of smoke there from the tyres of that was Callum Wilson, who tried to make a move on Jason A. Taylor into the final hairpin, but wasn't able to do so. And you can see that's Colin Messina making a move on the inside of Callum Wilson there, and has made it stick right before Duffers dip, as he takes, as you'd put it, a very liberal reading in track limits. But he's kept the place, so Colin Messina up into 7th, and that is someone into the gravel in front. That was Sergio Soria, who's now lost a place to Jason A. Taylor. So, oh, that's Sam Cree in the gravel as well, and that's Jason A. Taylor now going into the grass and spinning across the track. Has there been anyone involved? There has been people involved, and I think one of them wasn't Callum Wilson, that was, I think that was Sergio Soria, one of the people involved, and someone else as well, but we didn't get a quite good look at it. Well,
yeah, more chaos here in race number 3, on lap number 3 as well, so Sorio definitely dropping down the order. We'll have to hopefully get a replay of that in a few moments' time, but that Cooper has been in the wars this evening, hasn't he? Goodway and Smith continuing to fight up the front. Smith hounding that Vauxhall as they make their way out of McIntyre's, but Goodway sitting imperiously for the time being. Smith getting all crossed up over the chicane. Again, in sim racing, you don't have to worry about breaking your spine and ripping all the undercarriage of the car out over big sausage curbs. So you can throw it across there, and it is quicker until you get it slightly wrong and you have to lock up the anchors when you land because you're facing in slightly the not right direction. Smith's going to try and get the cut back and try and get the drive onto the straight. Didn't look like he got it immediately, but a bit of grass there for Goodway. But I think that Smith will be too far back for a move down into Duffer's Dip. Morel holding on to that third place at the moment. He's got about 4 seconds, in fact, back to Messina in P4. As that Ariel one car still stranded is the Infinity on the inside of Leslie's turn number 2. And now, was that a bit of lap traffic that I potentially saw, or was that just me mistaking the bollard for a car up in front? I believe it may have been the latter, so Smith and Goodway can continue to do battle out here up on 2 wheels. That's a great run from Alan Smith. Has to go the long way around though. Goodway will get aggressive and just drive down the middle of the track. No way for the Hyundai to get through. He's going to send it big time around the outside of Taylor's. This would be magical if he pulls it off, but the front end is going to wash out and he won't get there in the end. A bit of torque steer coming into play. So as we go into lap number 6, Smith will have to stay put for the time being.
He will, and we saw Abdullah even there in the grass on the exit of Duffer's Dip. Yeah, for a couple of laps, and now he's officially DNF. So I think Abdullah even that's his second DNF in these last 2 races. So horrible round for the Infinity driver, unfortunately. And as it stands, we had 1 DNF per race each today. So 1 DNF in race 1, race 2, and race 3. However, it's only lap 6 of 24 here in the 3rd race, so we're not quite sure what will unfold yet. And speaking of things that are yet to unfold, Alan Smith, he looked for a move into Taylor's on Dave Goodway, was too far back and couldn't quite decide on whether he'll make it outside or inside. By the time Goodway defended the outside, Alan Smith was too committed to the outside line as well to try and make a move on the inside. And by the time I finished that sentence as well, they're already going through McIntyre's now. And Alan Smith is still not quite close enough to try and make a move on Dave Goodway for 1st place. Meanwhile, Callum Wilson, I mean, he's 1.2 seconds behind Martin Morrow for 3rd place. But Martin Morrow himself, he's 7 seconds behind Alan Smith here. So if Callum Wilson gets past Martin Morrow, which I think will happen by lap 9, he's going to have quite a bit of time to gain on the parent here in the top 2.
To the inside once again is Goodway defensively. Better run on the exit though from Alan Smith. So he will have to be brave on the brakes into Duffer's Dip because Goodway has the inside and they are still neck and neck on the run in. Who gives? Will it be Goodway? Will it be Smith? It's going to be neither of them as they come together. One's facing the wrong way. Smith is lucky not to meet the wall and the 2 leaders have come to blows. Goodway is out of the race following that incident. Morrell's up to 2nd. Wilson into 3rd. Morrell's had to take avoiding action as Smith tried to rejoin the circuit awkwardly, and that means that Wilson has just got 2 free positions and now leads this race. We have chaos and drama on lap number 8 here at Knockhill.
Oh, I mean, I was saying that Callum Wilson would have a bit of time until he's able to catch up to the top 2, and then immediately, like a commentator's curse, it's so often it happens that way. And it's happened again where Alan Smith and Dave Goodway, they came together, and Dave Goodway, I think he could have carried on. I'm not quite sure why they decided to call it quits, only on lap 8 as well, when he could have easily carried on, and I think he would have finished in the top 5 as well. But Dave Goodway decides to call it quits for the day and is out of race. Alan Smith, we saw how awkwardly he tried to rejoin as well. Martin Morley could have stayed in front of Callum Wilson for another lap, I think, if that weren't the case. But now Callum Wilson, he's gained 3 positions inside a lap, and instead of having to battle for his way up into P1, he basically got handed it on a silver platter, and I think he's now going to be able to just run away with it. And where the gap was, I think 16 seconds by the end of race 2 between himself and P2, I think it's lap 9 now, and he's going to have plenty of clean air until he catches up to the traffic. I think the gap between himself and P2 might be even bigger here, Ross.
It probably will be. Callum Wilson's been sent a gift by the racing gods. And with a good way out of the race as well. That's big for Smith in the championship. That's big for Carlo Messina in the championship. He's a big rival of the pair of them in the front-wheel drive category. And it was just aggressive racing. It was neither driver wanting to give an inch in that incident. The two cars trying to converge into one line at Duffer's Dip does not go. Whoa, Sam Cree trying to send himself up into space. That is going to allow Carlo Messina easily through on the run into Clark's, though he will try and get the switch back. There is a little bit of wheel banging between the pair of them, but only ever so slight. Cree going to have to try and make something spectacular happen here. Does look to the inside, but he's too far back. Ultimately too late on the brakes as well, and he's too deep into the corner. So that is P4 for Messina. P3 podium place in the front-wheel drive category. Marcin Morel, well, we'll see what the pace is like. He's currently got a 2.5 seconds ahead of Smith, who may have damage, but we know that he's not quite been on the pace of the likes of Smith and Messina so far this evening, as we are approaching half distance in our final race of the evening here in the British Touring Car Challenge in Formula Racing League. So let's see if Smith can catch him, and then if he does catch him, well, he's already been in one incident tonight. Is he going to be a bit hot under the virtual helmet anyway, as Cree takes a very liberal view of track limits in the background? We'll wait and see. Lap 11, soon to be 12 of 24.
Yeah, I was gonna say, on the topic of pace today, Marcin Morel wasn't quite on pace, like you said, with Alan Smith and Carlo Messina in the previous rounds and here as well. But one person who's having a round to forget today is Sam Cree, who seems to have picked up the pace compared to the usual for himself, and is very, very close to the likes of Messina and Smith and Goodway here around Knockhill. But he just can't quite seem to catch a break, and you see him there, very, very odd line through Duffer's Dip. And again, Sam Cree, I think, finally has managed to find some semblance of pace in that Toyota, and he's just struggled with misfortune, either of his own making or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he's not managed to get the results that he could really, as he's now dropped to P6 as well, and he's dropping even further. He's dropped behind Piotr Wojtala and Daniel Irvin, so now he's 7th in that Toyota Santry. Something must have happened to the Briton, and it just sucks to see. There's no other way to put it. He's gone past that. He's in a fight with Daniel Irvin, as Alan Smith has gone past Marcin Morel for P1 in the front wheel drive class. So Marcin Morel, who we said not quite as pacey as Smith and Messina, he's now lost to Smith, and I think he'll lose to Messina within the next 2 laps as well.
Absolutely. Oh, and that's off the road there for Daniel Irwin. No, not Daniel Irwin, sorry, Cree. It was running wide in the Toyota, so the pole sitter in this reverse grid race number 3 now starting to see some mistakes sliding in. Irwin will smell blood and will be on full chat, full push mode to see if he can work his way through and work his way up into 6th place. We'll find out if he's got what it takes. Not quite close enough down into the final corner at Taylor's, but certainly filling the mirrors, though he does have Taylor, who we know is very, very quick and has had his own issues here today. So this one could be a battle that converges very, very quickly. In fact, it may well be that Irwin has to worry about Taylor behind first before he thinks about Cree up in front, because the BMW is now putting huge, huge pressure on that Hyundai as they make their way through McIntyre's, and now Irwin's gone off the road as well, and that's a gap that doesn't really exist. Taylor has to slam on the anchors and back out of it, and great avoiding action, to be fair. This time gets an easier run of things into Clark's and does move up into 7th place. Irwin will now be thinking, okay, let's see if I can follow the BMW and catch up to the back of Cree, see if we can, if those two start to fight, I can try and sneakily slide my way through. There are still only the 2 DNFs in this race, in Arioyalwan and Daniel Goodway. We saw that incident with him earlier, and Smith. Smith has now got through Morel, of course, so he's now up to 2nd and leading the way in front-wheel drive. Irwin, I don't quite think, has the pace on the road to keep up with the pair in front of him. I think he's more reliant on a mistake over anything else.
Potentially so, but we saw Daniel Irvin, he seemed a bit unhappy where Jason A. Taylor, we could see him flash his lights as they were making their way down railway straight, so I think Jason A. Taylor makes his way past Sam Cree as well for P6, so the BMW now, he was fairly comfortably, I think. No, he's actually third in the rear-wheel drive, I think, behind Piotr Wojtolo in that Infiniti in P5, so he's not quite second yet in the rear-wheel drive class, but he's making his way to there. He's not that far from the Polish driver either, 3.5 seconds behind on lap 16 of 24. As moving back onto the front-wheel drive class, Martin Morrell, he's still keeping Carlo Messina at bay, and is costing invaluable time on Alan Smith as well, which is causing massive championship implications here between Messina and Smith, as Smith takes quite a liberal line through Clark's, goes fully over the gravel, where about a car and a half's width between himself and the track. But Messina's still unable to catch up to Morrell and get past him properly, even though Smith has lost massive time on Morrell.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait to see if Morrell can place some pressure, go back on the attacker, if Smith's going to be able to recuperate and get on with it. Messina also with him. This is the fight now for the lead in front-wheel drive, and laps are ticking away now, so not too far from it being done and dusted this evening here at Knockhill. A few miles to the north of Dunfermline in the middle of Scotland. And what an evening it has been. Some great action all throughout. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. That looks to be Cree, who's gone round or met the wall because he's dropping places out on the circuit. Still very much a game of chess in this battle for all three podium places in front-wheel drive. Morrell keeping Smith very honest. Messina right there with him as well. Taylor still trying to put... Actually, did Taylor and Smith or Cree come together even? Because Irwin's now worked his way through Taylor. Let's have a replay here, see what happened. Here is Taylor. Or did Taylor make a mistake on his own? Yet caught the curb, got it sideways across the circuit. So that's what happened to Taylor. And that is what is going to allow Irwin through. So Crees drops it earlier round the lap. And again, there's definitely been either a spin or a meeting of the tyre barriers. Here is the Toyota GR of Sam Cree, and two wheels up into Duffers dip, lands awkwardly, digging into the gravel whatsoever, skipping straight over the top. He is able to continue, but there'll be heavy, heavy damage to that GR Toyota, and he'll need to work his way back into the pits, which he has done so now.
Yeah, heartbreaking yet again for Sam Cree, as I said earlier, has finally found some pace here around Knockhill, and just can't seem to find a break in terms of his luck. Reminds me a bit of, for example, from another league that I'm a member of, GPVWC. It reminds me a bit of Mike Bell's Formula Sprint 2 season back in 2024, where obviously he wasn't on pace with the likes of the frontrunners like Patrick Magnussen, Mateusz Schmeicher, Noah Tuamela. But even when he found the pace, his luck would still be running out, and he would just get involved in the most obscene accidents that a lot of the time weren't his fault. So it really does pain me to see Sam Cree in the situation that he's in right now, and yeah, I can't say anything other than hopefully next time around at Donington Park it will be a different change of fortunes for him.
Yeah, fingers crossed. An evening to forget for Sam Cree, but he is at least going to try and take the checkered flag in this contest. The three drivers up at the top of this pack. Well, Smith started to bridge a bit of a gap ahead of Messina and Morrell due to the traffic more than anything, but they're still there or thereabouts with the Messina. That is full attack from the Cupra driver. Morrell's put two wheels in the gravel. That is potentially an opportunity in a run for Messina. He's going to have to go all the way to the inside on the run into Taylor's. Forces the gap to appear and gets it stopped on the anchors as well. That is P3 for Carlo Messina, P2 in category. Can he now try and hunt down Alan Smith, who is still stuck behind? A little bit of traffic, but while these two have been fighting, has extended a gap just a little bit. Smith will probably be quite frustrated. He'll be wanting blue flags from that Toyota in front, but he'll have to deal with it.
And I think what's interesting as well there, what I was going to say, Ross, is that Toyota in front of Alan Smith was teammate. It was Martin Morrell's teammate in Milos Curzan, but now, as you can see, Carlo Messina going for the gravel as well as Milos Curzan. The tactic didn't seem to work. I don't know if there's any tactic involved really between Morrell and Curzan for Curzan to have held up the pack in front of Morrill for him to potentially have a way back through, but it seems to have not worked because not only has Jason not done that great of a job at holding up Smith and Messina, but Morrill has lost quite a bit of time as well. I think that might have been because of Cherson as well. And lap 22 of 24 now, so 3 laps remaining. Carlo Messina, he's been held up massively by Martin Morrill. It took him way longer than I thought it would to get past him. I think around lap 11 or 12 I said it would take another 2 or maybe 3 laps. It's taken another 8 or 9. So Carlo Messina took way too long to get past Martin Morrill. I think he's running quite thin on time here and might not be able to get past Alan Smith on time for the win in the front wheel drive class. It's a 1.5 second gap with 2 laps remaining.
Yeah, it is, and you're starting to think, oh, is the time left at the end of this one? Well, you never know, given what a chaotic evening we've had here in the FRL British Touring Car Challenge. So we'll wait and see, but on paper, you'd think, yeah, probably looking like it is a bit done and dusted. Messina, though, Smith is still within his sights, so he'll be pushing onwards, and if there's a mistake or something of the like, it could be a change potentially. Here is Piotr Bodulo in the Sutton Infinity, or the former Sutton Infinity, no, not the Sutton, the Aidan Moffat Infinity even, working his way through Duffer's Dip, Leslie's, and then down into McIntyre's, hot on the tails of Taylor, who has had the pace this weekend, or this evening, but has just made a far too many mistakes, should I say. Nearly makes another one there as well, gets dangerously close to the gravel. Wilson has began the final lap of this contest, but there is still fighting. This is for second place in the rear-wheel drive class. So Bodulo still very much over a podium if he's even not quite able to catch up to Taylor. Wait and see. There is Messina, who's dropped further back from Smith on the run into McIntyre. So I think it's safe to say that he's not going to be catching and taking the front-wheel drive win, save for some sort of disaster. But 1 turn to go, and it's a messy evening for this man in race 1 anyway, but it is another evening of perfection, and he makes it 18 race victories on the bounce. Callum Wilson dominates at Knockhill and does so in race 3 in some style, from 9th on the grid to over a 10-second advantage come the checkered flag. Smith will bring it home in second and take the front-wheel drive victory. Messina just behind him, Morrill set to round out those podium places. Then we wait patiently to see, will it be Taylor or will it be Bodulo who takes second place in the rear-wheel drives? It should be Taylor. I think it will be Taylor, as he hounds that BMW to the exit of Taylor's, funnily enough, and does take second place. P5 overall. Bodulo, though, congratulations to him, a fantastic P6 in that Infinity, does get him a rear-wheel drive podium at the end of it all. That one calmed down a little bit by the end of it, but I think it's safe to say, Amir, we've had a great evening of racing here. Not Amir, Lorenzo here at Knockhill.
Yeah, I mean, we do have Amir watching on, so I think Amir can agree that we had a fairly good race 3 on our hands, even though he couldn't watch the first 2 races on account of his other requirements. But no, I think I would agree as well with Amir that these 3 races and this 3rd race as well have been very, very good, as we'll take yet another look really quickly through the finishing order, if we can, Remco, please. Thank you very much. As Callum Wilson, 18th win from the 18 races this year, absolutely stunning from the Briton. And is there a stop to him? I guess we're just going to have to wait until the next round and find out. Alan Smith with the win in the front-wheel drive class. Not far ahead from Carlo Messina, finishes 3rd or 2nd in the front-wheel drive class. Martin Morrill in 4th, Jason A. Taylor in 5th. Piotr Bodulo, after struggling in the first 2 races, gets a lovely P6 to round off his debut, I think, in the league very nicely. Daniel Irvin gets 7th as well, rounds off his debut, I think, in the league quite nicely as well. Tom Brunel in 8th, Sergio Osorio, who I think is also debutant, gets a top 10 to round off his debut off as well. And Doug Wickens in the sole 4th today, down in 10th. And then in P11 it was Milos Chersan in the 2nd of 2 Speed Eagles Toyotas. Johnny Sutton in 12th place, and then Sam Cree, sadly 2 laps down, the last of our 3 laps down, the last of our finishers in an independent Toyota, and then our 2 DNFs with Dave Goodway in the Vauxhall and Abdullah Arayevun in the Infinity. So compared to the first 2 races, we had 1 DNF each. We had 2 in the third race.
We did indeed. Well, that does bring to a conclusion what has been a great evening of British Touring Car Challenge action here at Formula Racing League and, of course, Knockhill as well. We'll hang around for a minute or two just to see if anybody does fancy an interview this evening. But again, I guess the story of the day is once again, I know we've already said it, Lorenzo, but Callum Wilson just continuing to be the absolute class of the field and then some. 18 straight race victories, not just in rear-wheel drive, but on the road as well. It's starting to get a little bit silly now, is his domination. And you're just thinking, surely somebody's got to be able to stop him at some point. Well, we saw an error at the start of this evening from him. But, you know, it didn't matter in the grand scheme.
And I think we can get Alan Smith first and foremost for an interview, as he is the current leader of the front wheel drive championship, at least was coming into Knockhill. Let's just see whether he is ready for one.
Let's see. Well, we've got a few people rating in the wrong interview room.
Yeah, I don't think they've got quite the access. But luckily enough, I am able to drag people up to us. So let's just get Alan Smith on board with us, and let's see. Alan, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you.
Lovely, welcome on board.
I mean, yeah, big sigh there. I can imagine quite an interesting night from your perspective. I mean, Knockhill, it can be tiring. It's very physical, but just talk us through your evening.
I think to say everything happened wouldn't quite get it. There was definitely, did not make the most of qualifying. There was a lot more time left on the table, just couldn't get the car together, which then put me 5th. Decent start, all 3 races. I think that's the one thing I can come away from here, is the starts were on it. But yeah, no, just getting caught up, and some incidents not of my own making, some we'll have to see later.
Well, I mean, race 2, you were on your lid at one point, and
oh
yeah, I mean that, and then went on to go and win in class as well. Like, that's not bad going.
Was it really?
I think so. It was that or second off the top of my head. It was one of the two.
I was going to say, I'm surprised I got that far up in the second race, given, like you said, I was on my lid. Yeah, no, that was very an interesting moment. It was like side by side, curb. Oh, there's the floor.
No, well, I mean, yeah, it kept you entertained, I think it's safe to say. And I think you are still the championship leader on the way out of it as well. It's very, very tight, and my maths isn't very good. So you're either still leading the championship or second by a couple of points.
Yeah, I would expect Messina will be leading, because that is... But he had a very good run of it, and then all manner of stuff went on in the second race, and I was able to capitalise. But yeah, I was surprised, because final race, Martian Morel was keeping me honest. That is some very good pace from him, I must admit. But yeah, Speed Eagles all round actually doing relatively well today, which is nice to see. I've raced with Martin for I think about 6 to 8 months now. Very good competitor. But yeah, no, definitely something to keep an eye out for the future. We'll see what goes on at the next race. Maybe this is their creme de la creme, but we'll see.
I mean, looking forward, couple of weeks' time, big change as we go to Donington, so a very different track, and of course using the Grand Prix loop as well. What's the thoughts and feelings as we head back into England?
So down the Craner curves, this is probably the best handling car of the ones that I've driven. This is definitely able to make the most of the car's advantage through there. Melbourne Hairpin, the lower speed stuff, it's not the best. It's helped here because the camber sort of digs the tyres in, but you could probably see near the end of the race, it is just spinning those fronts, and it'll be interesting to see how it does. I would expect it's probably going to be the car to beat in the first and second sectors, but third sectors, we'll have to see. Definitely the Cupra. Keep an eye on that, because that thing is a rocket ship.
Yeah, it's got some good people behind the wheels of it as well, for a few drivers out there. So we'll wait and see. Lorenzo, anything to ask Alan at the end of a very interesting evening?
Yeah, obviously, Alan, congratulations on the results today. And you brought up the Cooper as being a rocket ship. So my question for you is, do you think you will be able to try and contend, possibly re-overtake Carlo Messina in the driver standings after Donington? Or do you think on a kind of discrepancy, or well, if you can even call it the discrepancy between the two cars, that you're
It's going to
driving?
be difficult. Carlo is a very, very hard racer. He's very aggressive. He is very much on the limit, and he can get everything out of that car. I know the Cooper is a quick car. I used to drive it. The cornering is subpar, but the straight line speed is second to none. So if I can get ahead in the Craners, I will have to make the most of it through the second sector, because the moment we hit the straights, that is going to be me at risk for the overtake. Other than that, it's just going to be keeping the pressure on, see if I can crack him, but he's a tough nut to crack.
I see. And we do have the updated standings as it stands, so you are currently 1 mega point behind Carlo after Knockhill.
Oh, if only. If only. I think that's the thing to come away from here, is that the pace is strong, the car is good. I can certainly pull a lot out of it, but it is just... I tidy it up and hope for some better luck. I think is also part of it. But yeah, no, it's definitely going to be fun, definitely going to be close. I'll have to see what I can do against Carlo. Like I've said, he is a very, very strong driver in a very strong car.
All right. Well, that's all from me. Is that all from you, Ross?
That is all from me as well. Yeah, certainly an evening, wasn't it, Alan? Still, great job. I enjoyed the acrobatics in race 2, and yeah, we'll see you at Donington.
No worries. All right. Hopefully we can have some different sort of action to cheer for next time.
Absolutely. Great to speak to Alan Smith there, who does still lead the championship by a single point, I believe it was, at the end of a interesting evening, shall we say. Should we get Carlo Messina in? No, he's behind Carlo Messina by a point of the title, should I say. But let's speak to Carlo, who did have a really, really solid evening, it must be said. Carlo, yeah, Knockhill. We were just speaking to Alan. It was a bit chaotic, but some really solid results for you at the end of it all. And moving forward, looking further down the season, you do lead the championship now in front-wheel drive by 1 point. So I think it's safe to say you can be very happy.
Yes, I can be. I will see I see right now the standings, and I had no idea I was in front of all after the Truxton race. It wasn't very good. I didn't expect to have these 3 podium in this on Knockhill. Sorry guys, I'm melting right now. It's too hot in room.
No worries. But yeah, just we saw you were pushing so hard, especially through the chicane as well. There was a couple of moments where it all got a bit scary. Was it just maximum attack from the get-go?
Yeah, it was. I love Knockhill. I love the track. I love the chicane. I love to try to find the limit. and I resolved the issues with the hardware. I changed all. Right now I have a direct drive, and I still learning to drive again. So it was a first time. It was like a first time drive around the Knockhill for me. Didn't expect this result with the new wheel. I'm happy to have this sorry again, to have this this result this evening.
No, but you did a mighty job, and again, you do have the championship lead going forward now as well. Lorenzo, anything to ask Carlo?
Just one question, a very quick question, Carlo. We were talking with Talon, and he thinks that will be hard for him to re-overtake you into Donington in the driver standings. But I'm curious whether you think you can stay in front of him after Donington.
I think I can. I think I can. As I say, is with the new hardware is like starting all over again. Not too much difficult to learn all again, but right now I have much fun, and all this fun is like flying for me. Right, as I say before, did expect this result of Knockhill with the new wheel. I'm happy to reach that, and next is Croft, right? No,
Yes.
it's Donington.
No.
Which one?
There's Donington next, I think, is it not?
Yeah, Donington next, and then Croft.
Yeah, Donington Grand Prix and then Croft.
Oh, Donington again. I don't like Donington. I don't know if I if I can defend this position.
Yeah, I've
Maybe
got
I'll
bad
Croft.
memories tied. I've got bad memories tied to Donington as well
Yeah.
from last year. I can tell you that much.
No, it's not. It don't fit my style, Donington. That's it.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, if there's nothing else from Lorenzo, I think that's it from us here with you, Carlo. But still, a really solid evening from you. A mixed bag of results here and there, just with the chaos. But you are still now the front-wheel drive championship leader, so I think you can be very, very happy as a.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I had fun. I had fun with guys with the overtake. I had a little bit on round one to get the win after I see Callum out. Of course, Callum he did get out. It's too fast, mate. I don't know what to do with him. Try to defend some laps, but it's too much for me. It's too fast.
Yeah, it seems to be a common issue with everyone on the grid, not just for you, to try and get past Callum. But I'm sure something will be figured out by the end of the season.
We will see.
Sounded ominous from myself, but no. Thank you so much for joining us on track tonight, Carlo, and for joining us here for an interview as well. And
thank you, guys.
Yeah, I hope you cool down fast.
I hope so. I don't too hot right now, and I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel in the room.
Yeah, take care.
We hope in September.
Exactly. It's gonna be cooler by then in Italy. But for now, take care, Carlo.
Thank you. I will take care of you. Bye, guys. Have a good night. Buonanotte.
Buonanotte.
Great to speak to. Yeah, Carlo. Is that Dan Irwin waiting for one? Have we got time for a very quick one? But I believe it's Dan Irwin.
I think it is Dan Irwin, and I think he should be ready. So if he is ready, then we can get him in really quickly, and he is indeed. So let's get Dan Irwin on board if my Discord decides to work.
I can get it.
There we go.
So Dan, yeah, I mean, we just spoke to the two guys before. Pretty chaotic evening at Knockhill for everyone in general, but some really, really solid performances from yourself, and looked like you'd really kind of settled into the car.
Yeah, I had a few problems at the start joining. That's what happened on race 1. And then on race 2, I got hit, which meant the rear suspension failed on me. So it was just constantly just going round, trying to just crack on, and then race 3, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, surely just an evening you can be pretty satisfied with overall. I mean, you kept it out of trouble for most of the time.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the first proper weekend that I've been out there. So yeah, it was spot on, to be honest.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And then kind of moving forward, Donington up next, the GP layout. How are you feeling going into that?
Yeah, it's another difficult track. It's completely different to Knockhill, going from a small track to a big track. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one, but yeah, we'll see how we get on.
Awesome stuff. Lorenzo, anything from you?
Other than Daniel, I think this is your first event here in the FRL BTCC Championship for this year. So welcome aboard to the championship. And yeah, obviously some issues in the first event, but still a fairly decent result in the third race. Do you think you can improve on the P7, I think it was, that you had in the third race, going into the likes of Donington and Croft, and the last 2 races as well in Silverstone and Brands Hatch?
Yeah, so the setup should change quite a bit. On the second race, I couldn't load my setup, so I was struggling with that as well. On the third race, I actually had my setup on the car. So going into Donington, it will be a case of just testing, seeing what I can do going forward.
All right, lovely stuff. And thank you for joining us here in the league, Daniel. And
No,
thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth as well for an interview. And I hope
cheers
you have
for
a
having me.
lovely, I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening. And hope you the best. And I wish you the best of luck going forwards in the season as well.
Perfect. Cheers, guys.
Well, that'll be Dan Owen, the last of our interviewees for this evening, and we'll wrap this one up quickly because I know that Remco's probably a very sleepy boy and wants to go to bed. But Lorenzo, what an evening we've had here at Knockhill. Chaos as we came to expect, but still 3 great races. You know, Callum's just still off doing his own thing and being ridiculous. A change for the championship lead, though, in the front-wheel drive category. So moving forward to Donington in a couple of weeks' time, things are looking very interesting.
They are indeed. Obviously, as you said, Callum's still in his own zone and hard to reach. But nevertheless, amazing battles happening further back. And Carlo Messina now taking Alan Smith in the front-wheel drive championship. Dave Goodway having a bit worse of a round compared to the usual, but he still jumped Antonis Paprinopoulos up by 1 point as well for third place. So if Antonis Paprinopoulos is back next time around at Donington, there might be a good fight for third as well, despite the fact that Goodway, even though he's only third, he's 14 points behind Messina, so it could be still a 4-way fight for the front-wheel drive championship.
Could be indeed. Thank you very much once again for joining us for what has been another brilliant light of the Formula Racing League British Touring Car Challenge in 2026. We hope you've enjoyed the action, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. It is short and sharp between this round and the next. We're heading back into England, the motherland, I guess, if you're an English patriot or whatever. And we're heading back to a circuit we've already been to, but a slightly different layout. We're heading to the Midlands, we're heading to Leicestershire, and we're heading to Donington Park. We'll see you there.